Hey bro, so in this video, we're going to be talking about exceptions for when you could work a volunteer job. But I just want to say that this shouldn't be the first thing you do. This should be absolute last case scenario. Like maybe you can't land a job in the industry and you've tried hundreds and hundreds of jobs. Honestly, I think it would be better just to like work in a different industry while you wait to get a job in the games industry. Like on the side, you just keep improving your skills or make a game of some sort. But these are for exceptions that it may be valid for you to work a volunteer position.
We're just ranking the reasons for doing that. Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll start with the first one. So agreement has a short end date, not ongoing. I think STR. What do you think, Andrew?
Agreement has a short end date. Okay, so it means it's like a known short end date.
Yeah, it's
not
predefined
ongoing.
in the contract.
Yep.
So you know when it's going to end, and that's when you're going to get evaluated.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good sign of like that whoever's offering that kind of volunteer position knows like what the end goal is, the end product's going to be, and it seems like whatever companies, at least they know their stuff.
Yeah, and it means that even if you're going to get taken advantage of, you're only going to get taken advantage of for a limited amount of time.
The negative impact on the volunteer or intern is going to be like very minimal.
Yeah, it'll be less than what. There's a lot worse things that could happen.
Yeah.
So next one, for your family or close friends.
Yeah,
I'm thinking A or B, possibly A.
Yeah. If you're thinking that like the family or close friends business is like going to be a big thing or take off, or like it might be a good start if you literally got no experience, this will be like a really quick foot in the door kind of thing.
Yeah. And like family and friends, I guess like there has been situations where you'd fall out with family or friends just in other people's lives, but you're like, if you can trust these people because they're family or friends, then I think that's a better situation than a complete stranger. Next reason, you're already mega fucking rich. F. Who cares? Like, even if you are mega fucking rich, it doesn't matter. Like, you would rather be paid, and then you can just donate that money to a charity or something.
At this point, you can automatically start up your own business and have a better chance of getting profit that way. In that case, if you're rich, like you already have like the means for funding and stuff. You already become like 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Like it makes it doesn't really do anything.
When money's not a thing, then yeah, of course, like there's no need to do any volunteer unless it's like like it has to really be like a full on like company that's really moving or causing a lot of like positive around.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess some of the other cards I think kind of address that. But yeah, like there's no point if you're rich, just get a paid job and send it all to charity. Seriously. Guaranteed to be paid at a later date. I'm putting that up high.
It seems reasonable.
It seems really reasonable. Yes, it's a good thing. Like if it can be stipulated in your contract that you will be paid from this date onwards, then although it's not ideal, like I said, this list isn't about things that are necessarily amazing. It's
doesn't
about
make it
what's
good.
not as shit.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Well, the way I see it is like what's most reasonable.
Yeah.
Or expected.
Yeah, but there has to be a good reason for this. Like, why aren't you getting paid from the beginning?
There's some factors, like what the difference between the time you finish work and the time you get paid. Like, if it's guaranteed, but what if it's like guaranteed after like 5 years? Then it's like, well, then that should not be an STR kind of item there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Next one, employer has a good network and can be a good reference. I don't think it's as good as S tier. I think
agree.
it could go into A tier because even if they have the best network, that doesn't guarantee you anything really. They might not ever they might have an amazing network that's good for them, but it might not be good for you.
Yeah, your experience itself is more important than just like references these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
no one puts references in like a full on resume anymore.
Yeah, like you're putting in your time and effort and you're not getting paid for it. I don't think the employer having a good network is like the top reason why that would be acceptable, if that makes sense. The next one, they are not for-profit business.
Yeah.
F, who cares? Just because they say they're not for profit doesn't make it so they're any more better when it comes to morality. Who cares? If this reason alone isn't a reason for you to not be paid for your time.
It's definitely not going to sell me on the idea of like, hey, I'm going to work for you and not get paid for it. And it's already not for profit, so they're already not thinking about making a profit, therefore no revenue share for sure.
Yeah, and they're never going to give. Yeah, exactly. There's no room to grow for you, really. You know.
Yeah. Like the chances of a revenue share is like slim to none.
Yeah. Next one. Employer is already paying other employees. I'm thinking A tier because just because they're paying other employees doesn't mean they're going to be paying you.
As long as there's a chance that like there's a good chance that you could be getting a full-time job with them or something like
Yeah.
that. If it's under the thing like you're a volunteer and like they're trying to what's it called lead you on into thinking you're going to get a job and then they just don't give you the job, then I would say that's bad.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very green flag out of a red flag, in my opinion. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
way I see it.
Yeah.
Next reason. Dude saved your life, now you owe him one. Gotta be S, man. It's gotta be straight up yes.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
you literally owe him one. Like,
If you owe him one.
If you owe him one,
I mean, it's like it's not obviously a requirement to work for someone for free if they like saved your life or something. But it's like, of course, like if you're, like of course you're gonna look up to them,
yeah, it's a good thing to do,
Or
I guess.
have
I guess,
mad respect for.
yeah, it's a good. You don't have to do it like Andrew's saying, but it's a good thing to do.
I mean, it's reason. It's definitely reasonable. The way I'm assessing it is, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, yeah. Let's put that there.
Next reason, no expectation to commit to a set time.
See, that's what like a green flag.
It is a green flag, but like you don't want to get yourself in this position like it being a volunteer anyway. So like it's the same as the other thing. It's a green flag out of a bunch of red flags.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes S tier because it doesn't really.
Yeah,
it's
they're
very
just
niche.
saying they're just saying like we know that we can't expect you to commit time, so we're just gonna we know that is like a sure thing that we can't do like legally or ethically speaking. But yeah, it doesn't mean that like the place you're working for is any better.
Yeah, if they literally expect you to put in set hours and stuff, then it's probably illegal. I can't wait to make these videos in the future where we talk about more companies because I've actually seen this. I've seen this exact point where they ask you to commit to a set amount of time. Like I'm not a lawyer, but it's got to be pretty much illegal, surely. Like that's work for labor. I don't know.
Either that or it's just a big lie. Yeah.
Next point, you're completely outclassed by many others.
Ooh, that's something I've got to think about.
My first thought is this, like B tier. Just because you're outclassed doesn't make you valueless. Like,
you could be a quick learner,
yeah, exactly. Like we have different pay rates for a reason. Like you have positions that pay certain amounts and then other prestigious positions that pay higher amounts. Like just because you're outclassed by a lot of people doesn't make your value zero. Like that's what working for volunteer means you're pretty much classifying yourself to be worth $0 an hour.
Yeah, and a lot of people would be in that position anyway because people who usually start off with volunteer jobs usually have very little to no experience, or they just got out of like college.
Yeah, most of the time when people go for these jobs,
just got out of school.
they've actually been to school and they've studied for multiple years. So I like it. If I had another tier here, it could almost go a tier lower.
It becomes less relevant when you do have experience. Like it's very temporary anyway, because once you do have enough experience, like you're gonna look less and less for volunteer jobs pretty quickly once you have your first pay check.
Yeah, exactly. Next point, open source project.
Yeah, most of the time, no. Like,
yeah, I get it's definitely out of these two.
I would do it if I loved I think an exception would be like there's someone's writing an open sourced emulator for something that's like you're completely not going to work for them officially, but you just want to help out with like writing a certain tool because you know a bit of code.
Yeah,
That's the only time you would do it, and it will be very temporary. Like you're there for like a specific purpose, and once you finished it, like that, you don't really continue on it forever.
Yeah, but then again, like we are sort of discussing, like what if a company on LinkedIn put a job post and said we're looking for an unpaid volunteer. Oh, but our project's open source. Like I feel like that would get me low-key triggered.
It's definitely not going to sell me on it, but you have to already like be interested in like contributing like temporarily. Then then it's in short spurts. That's okay. But like if your heart's not in it, then yeah, don't just go for them.
Well, that's an interesting thing because that ties into the next point.
Oh yeah.
You like the game or product they are making.
Yeah.
So you actually have a personal interest
Yeah.
in what they're doing.
Yeah. It's either A or B for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm leaning more towards B. I kind of see it as the same as like
Yeah.
just because you like the game or product, that doesn't mean your value is zero.
There should be another, maybe there should have been another point, like if you think you can contribute to them temporarily for like a day or two.
Like it'll give you personal satisfaction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Still though, I'm
It
really
depends.
against.
Like again, like if you like the game but you don't actually have your heart in it, you can like something but not have your heart in it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's definitely not going to sell me on the fact that to have a volunteer job for that reason.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
It's a bit of a gray area though.
It is a gray area because like this could also mean that you think the project might do really well. Like,
Yes, yes.
So if
but we should stick with like you like the product, like
Yeah.
you just like it. You don't care if it's going to do well or not.
yeah, I guess
Then
that
then
makes sense.
it becomes the realm of passion project stuff
Yeah, yeah,
and not like business success.
yeah. I actually agree with that. I think it's fitting that it goes.
Yeah,
Either.
I think it's a good place where it goes.
No money expenses for you. That should just be a fucking given. Like if you're working a volunteer job,
That should
like,
be the default.
the least your employer can do, whether it's illegal or legal, is at least cover any expenses you might have. Like they're not paying you wages, right?
Mm.
The least they can do is at least do that for you, right? I've come across examples where they don't do this for you, and I think it's ultra scummy and like
Yeah, especially when they expect you to come into the office and then you got to spend your own like petrol or gas. Then you got to also like pay for like other travel expenses.
I've actually got a point on that.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah,
that's part of the
I guess we'll skip
expenses.
to this one.
Yeah.
Travel, food, drink paid for by the employer. Again, it should be a given.
Yeah, but like a free lunch doesn't mean that the job
Exactly.
is like
Yeah, it's still like
it's still scummy.
it's putting a
does-
cherry on a dog turd.
Yeah.
That's
I
how
mean,
I see it.
anyone would love a free lunch. Like, but it should only be like when it's relevant. Like,
Yeah,
when
you're still
you
getting paid
should.
zero. Like imagine if you were getting paid, you'd be able to buy that lunch for yourself. You'd be able to pay
and
for
you'd
that
be able to
travel
have
yourself.
choice, like the freedom of choice of like what lunch you want to buy. Because when it's a free lunch, they're just gonna be like, oh yeah, nothing over like $10, please.
Yeah, yeah. And like
Like,
you
come
said, they
on.
might have a deal with like some cafe in
Oh,
the
yeah,
same
yeah,
building,
probably.
and it's like, yeah, exactly. They might already have that. And, it
And
might
even,
be,
and even if it's paid for by the employer, sometimes it might not be paid in full. It's like you get 10% off
Oh,
on
yeah.
coffee. Like big deal.
yeah, dog shit.
Yeah,
That's
big deal.
absolutely dog shit.
Yeah, like that's a perk. Give me a break.
Next point, they offer decent/fair revenue shares. It's
Alright,
a bonus.
it's got to be at least A then.
You think A? Yeah, it's definitely not S. It could be either
Yeah.
A or B.
I'm gonna go A if they make it clear that they are going to finish the product, that they are going to make money, then
You get a chance.
yeah. No, I don't. I've been lied to before, where it's like, yeah, we're going to give you revenue shares, and then the next few weeks they just close up.
Yeah.
Like if you're thinking that they're going to do it, then get out of there.
Oh yeah, it has to be okay. So I said they offer. Yeah. Actually, there's a difference between they saying they're going to do it and them actually giving it to you. If it's in the contract where it says you sign here, you get this, then yeah, that is definitely A. But
Yeah.
if they don't, if they just say, oh yeah, we're holding
Yeah.
on to
If it's
them
just-
for you, and
yeah.
we don't worry, we'll give it to you. We'll give it to you. Then yeah, it's definitely drops to B. But oh yeah, it's interesting. Again, we don't have a middle ground, so we're gonna have to make a decision.
Yeah, it
Well,
depends.
let's assume they give it to you
Yeah.
upon sign.
The scenario is that they do give you some sort of revenue share that's fair.
Yeah.
Even if they're not making much money, it's still fair. Like
Yeah.
you're still getting, I don't know, decent percentage for a startup company or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Then
with
yeah,
that.
then I would put it in A.
Next point, it's for a legally operated charity, and yeah, like I guess this could more refer to like I don't know, working in a soup kitchen maybe. Like you
legally
kind of
operated charity.
it's a legally operate. So there's a lot of businesses. In order to be a charity, they have to pass a lot of hurdles legally because like they can do different things. They work in different ways. It's not the same as a non-for-profit. Like a charity is a form of non-for-profit. A non-for-profit is very different.
I see.
So-
yeah.
I guess it's a good thing for society when you have things like this.
Again, it depends also if you actually like whatever they're doing.
Yeah,
You wouldn't just thought like, oh, I'm desperate to find a job, therefore I'm just gonna go to some charity and like it doesn't give you extra points for experience in your resume.
yeah.
So it's not that helpful, and it depends if how relevant that position is. If it's a legally operated charity, but it's like for a AAA game studio that's actually giving like something really good, which usually they don't.
I doubt that would be how I
Yeah,
get charity
yeah,
status,
but
but
you,
yeah.
but it's so unlikely that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay, well, since you
that's the only
compared it
exception.
to you compared it to this point, so I guess it's probably fitting if maybe it goes in the same category.
True. Yeah.
All right, last point actually. That was quick, man. Building a portfolio on your own terms. Now, I've seen this hundreds of times where these companies with volunteer positions say one of their perks and benefits is that you get to work on your portfolio and work with us. But
Yeah, that's not
that
anything
is
special.
on their terms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fucking lying bastards, man. You're working on their game, which I think
You're
again,
helping them out more than they're helping you out.
which I think, which I think is possibly illegal. Like, in order for it to be a legal volunteer position, the way it works is you have to gain more out of the agreement compared to what they gain. Now, if they say, oh, you're going to build up your portfolio, but then the same thing, right? Oh, you'll be working on assets for our game. Come on, that's benefiting them more than it's benefiting you. They're the ones selling the game. They're the ones making the money, especially if you've got no revenue share. That I guess that makes it a bit grey if you get a revenue share. But if you're not getting a revenue share, which is less likely, it's not the majority of times, then yeah, it's completely scummy and shit and possibly illegal.
Yeah, never do this if you have the intent of getting paid somehow
Yeah, and you can work on your portfolio on your own terms.
in a better way.
In a way, there's plenty of people,
Yeah.
there's plenty of communities you can join where you can share your portfolio and you're going to get people going out of their way to critique you. And that's a good thing. You don't have to go to these unpaid volunteer positions just to get feedback on your portfolio and to give them, maybe they give you like a little helping hand. You can get that feedback free.
I've said this every
On
time,
communities.
like build your own portfolio yourself with your own products and games that you actually finish. Don't just do a passion project that lasts 10, 20 years because it's not going to be anything useful. Finish your products and your portfolio would look much better than even just a year's worth of experience working for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. And
If you can finish it, that's already good enough for
Yeah.
people to think at least the employer has a good like thought in their head. Hey, this person knows their stuff. They've finished something, and therefore I'm going to consider them for this position.
yeah, that's a good fucking point. Oh yeah, thank you, Andrew, and yeah, thank you, bros, for listening.
Yeah.
If you
Thank you,
guys
everyone.
have any, I want to hear your opinions down in the comments. Especially maybe you might think some of these should be in the different categories, and maybe you have some other things that we forgot to mention. Like there could be other excuses or other reasons to why it might be okay to work as a volunteer. Again, this is last fucking case scenario. You want to get a paid job. That should always be first priority. And you'd be better, like I said at the start, you'd be better off getting a job in some other industry while you keep applying for jobs in this industry. But yeah, again, it's for the people who have no other choice and they want to do it. And this might be some things to look out for.
You want to stay relevant, but not at your own expense.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what should be said in summary of everything here.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, bros, and see you later.
Nice, short and sweet. Well done.
Got something to expose? Call the Spillato Bros.